it's another side that like wants to take more, and wants to go that one more round. Because like going that one more round when you don't think you can, that's what makes all the difference in your life. You know what I mean?
Hello and welcome everyone to One More Round, the Rocky Series podcast. I'm your host, Ryan, and with me, of course, today is Katie and Kyle. Katie, let's start with you. How are you doing?
Doing wonderful. How are you guys?
I am doing good. Kyle?
I'm doing great. I'm living the single life right now for the weekend, enjoying some quiet time.
Oh, nice.
It's nice to talk to some human beings, though. It is good to socialize too. So this is having some good balance to my day.
Oh, good. Yeah, it's nice seeing you guys. You guys are great. You're fantastic friends and co-hosts of the show, and I can't wait to meet Katie one day in person. I met Kyle once, way back when we actually had a beer together. Remember that beer and wings? I think it was.
I had a business trip out in BC. I swung by and had lunch with Ryan. I think that was like 2015. Like that was like 90. It was like a long time ago.
I can't believe it's been that long.
Oh, wow.
That's insane. Okay, let's get to it. Do you have your Drago answers?
Yeah.
Oh, shit. Yeah. Like ages ago, I did some.
We know that Katie wrote down 9 or 10. So by default, she's going to win the point.
No.
But for poops and giggles, let's just do it. What we're going to do is we'll start, like, Katie, you do one.
Okay.
You'll start, Katie, then I'll go, then Kyle. And then you just kind of mark off, like, I got that one too, or whatever. Okay. But Kyle, if you want to tally overall, so round one will be the first quote, and then so forth. And whoever gets the most correct within a word or two wins. And if we have a tie, then it's like whichever one got the most like accurate. Okay. Katie, why don't you start? Give us one.
If he dies, he dies.
Yeah, that was my first one too. All right. Kyle, did you get that one as well?
Yes.
Okay. So we all got a point. So however you want to do it, Kyle, we all got 1 point.
Okay, so we're all tied at 1 so far.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. I'll go next. You will lose.
Yeah.
I'm sure Katie got that as well.
Oh, yeah. I was like, why don't I see it written down here?
Yeah.
But yes, they do.
Ooh.
Okay, it took me a minute.
Okay.
I was like,
I must break you.
Yes, I must
good
break
one.
you. Speaking of which, check out Katie on the Last of the Action Heroes Podcast Network, which this feed goes to as well. If you're listening to this on the standalone feed, we are sure on part of that network. Katie was on the I Must Break You podcast.
I must break this.
So whatever. Breaking down the Rocky IV director's cut. And Katie, as always, does an amazing job. She is, she gets asked to guest co-host a lot. She's the best. I'm left in the dirt over here.
Oh, stop it.
Nobody ever asked me to go on their show. Anyway,
I do.
Okay.
I do.
You're like Apollo when he's complaining that no one asks him for autographs.
So I don't see no crowd around you neither, Kyle. Okay, so
yeah, exactly.
Katie, give me another one.
Yeah, Sylvia. For me is the English. I mean, he says it in Russian, but
I fight for me. Okay.
Okay.
Oh, I scared myself. Wow.
Did you get that one, Kyle?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so I'll go next. To the end.
Okay,
so till the end or to the end, however you want to read it, depends on the caption.
I do have that one, but I have / you are dead because my entire life I thought that's what it was.
But as long as it's not you're dead, I'm just saying that can't count.
No, you're dead.
Well, my point. Okay, so honestly, I have both, but I still don't see that he says that. I still think he says you're dead.
Oh, he doesn't. Not at all.
Okay.
No.
I hear that too, Katie. For me, it's like one of those things where it's like now that it's in my head like that, it's hard not to hear it that way. Okay, so right now we're at like you two each have 5 and I have 4.
Oh, you didn't have that one, Kyle?
No, I didn't.
Okay, Kyle, give us another one.
He is made of iron.
He's like a piece of iron.
Or he's like a piece of iron, yeah.
Yeah. So we all got that one. Yeah, I got the one. He's like a piece of iron. All right, so we all got that one. Oh, Katie, you've got the next one.
I cannot be defeated.
Yeah.
And that one I missed, I think. Okay, so Kyle, did you get that one?
Yeah.
Okay, so you guys both got a point each. I did not get one. All right, I've got this one here. I defeat old man. See this one?
yeah.
I still think he says old man because to me that makes more sense. He says old man. I know because he's talking about his win there. It just makes more to me. It makes more sense. He goes on the canvas as the guy I just beat. I defeat old man. Soon I'll defeat a real champion. He's saying he's defeated every human man that exists. It doesn't make sense to me. He hasn't defeated everyone. He's had a few professional fights. He's defeated all men. It makes more sense. He goes, I defeat old man. Soon I defeat real champion. But anyways, what do I know?
I have soon I defeat real champion.
Yeah, that's one of them as well.
Yeah, I have that.
That's two sentences. I think it counts as two, is what he's saying there.
Okay, then I did not get all man. I do not have I defeat all man.
Okay, so I defeat old or old man. Kyle, which one do you have?
I defeat real champion.
That's what I have too. So you're saying those are two separate.
Yeah, those
things.
are two. Okay. So I got both.
You and Katie are tied right now, and I'm 1 point behind you guys.
Well, I think that's it for me. So, Katie, if you get one more.
That's it for me too. So,
all right.
He must say it in Russian. He's not human or he's not a man.
He's not human. You're right. I missed that one. I did have one more, though.
Oh.
When he was training.
He has like a
Sorry. All right. I think that's
okay.
It.
So Katie keeps piling up the points here in Rocky Podcast Trivia. Hopefully, Katie doesn't be stupid at the end and try and go for the knockout. You got to defeat us on points, Katie.
Yeah.
Don't go toe to toe with us.
Don't fight our fight. Make him fight your fight.
So overall, Katie, that's right. You got 1 point after all that work. You only beat me by one quote. One quote. That's a lot for a man of my age to take, Katie. So good job. Yeah,
like
I've watched these movies longer than you've been alive, and you still beat me. All right.
Katie defeats old man.
Yeah, she defeated old man. No, see, this is where it would be old men because she defeated both of us. Right.
Ooh, both work.
It works both ways. Okay, Katie, you got a couple emails there?
Yes, I do. We have one from Doug. Greetings, my wonderful friends. I wanted to reach out regarding Rocky's comment to Adrian that you can't change what you are. If we go back to Apollo's warrior monologue earlier, Rocky and Apollo talk a lot about change. Rocky tells Apollo that they're changing and turning into regular people. And Apollo says these exact words, "You can't change what you really are." In this scene with Adrian, Rocky is simply regurgitating Apollo's words to her. Maybe he bought into Apollo's warrior way of thinking. Or maybe he's so traumatized by losing his friend that he's unconsciously reiterating the last real conversation he had with him. In my mind, I think it's Rocky's way of honoring Apollo and his memory by adopting that principle and being the warrior Apollo was. Now, obviously, he's not as eloquent as Apollo in his words, so it comes out badly. But I think he's trying to give Adrian the same speech that Apollo gave him. Maybe he's thinking, well, it worked on me. Maybe it'll work on her. Love you guys, and I can't wait to talk to you all again soon. Your brother and Rocky, Doug.
Great email, Doug. As well, always well spoken. I say our emailers are better podcasters than me, anyways. They always have time to think about what they're going to write. And when you're podcasting, you're just spitting off things. But
this is Greenberg, right?
Doug Greenberg from the I guess sort of the retired Rocky Minute now. I know he's busy with his life, and I will never say Rocky Minute won't come back. The podcast Rocky Minute, but it looks like it's semi-retired. Because he's just busy. But he's also a guest co-host when I cover Stallone films and what have you. He's a great guy, great podcaster. We love him, and a good friend. And Rocky was even saying, we're changing to regular people. I forgot about that. I actually forgot about that connection to the change part. So it's kind of maybe, this is Rocky channeling or being defensive about being a boxer in a sense to Adrian, where he's like, we can't change who we are. Look what happened to Apollo. He tried to change who he is and ended up dead. That's just what we are. We're on this freight train of existence. It's just who we are, and that's who we are. So we talked about that last episode about our ability to change and as humans in general. But I never thought of that angle that he's kind of channeling Apollo. I don't think we even brought that up.
I think that what can make you change is repeated blows to the skull.
Yes,
you're going to be doing some change. Rocky did some changing at the end of that fight, involuntarily.
It's in the same vein that we talked about, like the boxing commission. And even Rocky saying to Apollo in the dressing room, we really don't know anything about this guy. And then that's what the boxing commission says to Rocky. So there's kind of like reverse roles there. So it's kind of in the same vein. So that tracks.
Like, do people really change? I think in some ways we do. Like I'm definitely a different person than I was, 15 years ago. I think we do have a core of us, like in our personality. Like they say it's maybe locked in you're like 5 or something like that.
Right. Yeah.
It doesn't really change. That core is you for your whole life. We can definitely change our attitudes and perspectives on things.
We talked about how we grow and mature. Sure, like we're not a bumbling, we don't act like 5-year-olds. We grow, we learn about the world around us, but how we handle the world that we learn around us, I think that personality traits are formed at very young ages. I don't think we change all that much. We learn, but how Kyle handles a stressful situation, Ryan will probably handle that situation differently. Doesn't make it worse or better, but I'm just wired to be different in that same situation. We just tackle life differently. But I would say 21-year-old Ryan is probably react the same as 51-year-old Ryan will to a certain degree. But I am trying, like I've talked about before, I'm trying to be more stoic. But then we talked about how my trying to be more stoic is part of who I am. If that, you know what I mean? That's also just how I'm wired, that I want to be more stoic. I didn't even decide to be that way. I just started being, anyways.
I mean, I think we're all saying the same thing. Yeah, to some degree, our personality is our personality. I mean, I would be really sad if people couldn't change, because you can choose to be open-minded to receive new information and experience new things and see something from a different. But can't you choose to be open-minded?
No, what I mean by this is getting to the free will part of it. And I apologize. I'm kind of conflating the two. I find this fascinating, and I'm not very good at expressing it, so I apologize. People much smarter than me have expressed it, that I've listened on YouTube and stuff. The idea, what I'm trying to say is that you, Katie, or somebody like you, let's say, who is willing to listen to a different idea or topic, being open-minded, you think you chose to be that way, but that's just how you are. You say you're choosing to be open-minded, but you're not. You're deciding to be open-minded. It's just who you are.
You're right. But I really dislike when people say things like, well, that's just how I am. And that is just an excuse of not growing as a human.
I do agree with everything. However, I'm going to push back, because this is one argument I always love. And I think we've talked about this before in this podcast. We've done so many episodes. I love the idea of free will. I love challenging it, because if you truly had free will, why aren't you, and I say you, the universal you, the listener, why don't you just choose to enjoy everything? Like when you watch a movie, something simple. You watch a movie, I hated that movie. It's stupid. Oh, really? Why didn't you just choose to like it? Because your personality and who you are literally reacting to a movie around you all day long. Your 4D reality is a movie. You're in a movie. You're reacting to personalities, to events, to whatever. That's all a movie is life on a screen. And you are viscerally reacting to that experience. And you say to yourself, oh, I'm going to give that 6 out of 10. But why did Kyle give it 8 out of 10? Why was his experiences different? You saw the same movie, but you both had different experiences or feelings of that movie. That's what life is. Life is you in a movie, giving it a Rotten Tomato score. So when people say to you, well, I can't change, that's kind of what they're saying, is like, you might have liked the movie and you're trying to convince me to like the movie. I didn't like the movie. And now you're trying to tell me I have to like the movie. So when you're trying to tell someone, I need you to go on a diet, or I need you to be this way, I need you to be that way because I'm this way, this has worked for me. If everyone truly had free will, then why don't you just choose to enjoy every single experience as it happens?
Because of preferences. It's like you like broccoli or you don't like broccoli.
Then that's life. Apply those same principles to your 4D experience. How do you separate the two?
They're slightly different.
How?
You can enjoy something and still recognize that maybe wasn't for me. Like to your point about you can choose to have an open mind about a movie.
I'm not saying you're shiting on everything. I understand you say, oh yeah, I know those people who worked on the film did a very, they worked very hard, even though the product wasn't. We're not talking about being diplomatic.
Yeah.
You still didn't enjoy the film. You can paint it any way you want, but you walked away from the movie like, ugh, that wasn't my cup of tea. Isn't it more fun to enjoy something than to not enjoy something? So if it is more fun to enjoy something to not enjoy something, that's why the word exists. Then why not just choose to accept and enjoy everything? We can't choose that. We can't, because we are who we are.
Well, you can acquire a taste for something. There are things that
because you are because that's what you're doing. That's what you're doing.
Okay.
I think
I'm not expressing.
I think I see what you're saying, Ryan. And also you, Katie, because like for example, someone who like appears very stubborn, who says like, oh, like I am who I am, like don't change me, things like that. Someone like that could possibly over time become more open-minded or less stubborn based on a variety of things, maybe an experience they had. If they're in a culture, for example, where you're not open-minded, that's going to affect you.
Mm-hmm.
But probably deep down, there's something in you that wants to be open-minded or not open-minded. I think that's kind of what Ryan's getting at.
Yeah,
but
okay.
If I hear someone say who's like really closed-minded, I'm not going to just be like, well, that's the way they are. I just have to accept that. You probably, with some work, could change the way you think. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, because that's who you are doing that.
Yeah.
I'm not expressing it very well, but I'm just saying. I'm going to send you something after offline. I think you might just read it and tell me what you think. That's all. It's a fascinating discussion. People much smarter than me who study brains and life and neuroscientists and philosophers, and I don't understand anything. But
we have failed to solve free will. I want to apologize to the listeners that we did not come to a definitive.
No, I don't. I find it more of
2 minutes. We didn't tackle that.
We
one.
didn't solve free will. I'm sorry, but we can give decent commentary on the films.
I love this stuff. I love philosophical discussions and how life works.
Yeah.
All right, Katie. Maybe our listeners don't. I'm sorry, folks. Katie, the one more email there.
We do. It's from Michael from the Screen Nerds podcast. Hey, Ryan, Katie, and Kyle. Glad you're feeling better, Ryan. Some thoughts on episode 9. I always loved the cinematography of the staircase scene with Rocky and Adrian. I thought it was such a cool piece with how the scene is lit, with the light and shadows on Rocky while Adrian is in full light. I don't think either Rocky or Adrian are speaking logically here. I think especially Adrian is speaking emotionally, and sometimes you say things that don't necessarily make complete sense. Adrian here was upset and angry, yet still loves Rocky and is almost trying to process her feelings in real time. Rocky, too, in his responses to Adrian, is very much speaking from emotion. But I will say, out of the two versions, I do prefer the director's cut. It highlights more of Adrian's emotions, and Talia Shire gives a tremendous performance there. And just getting a little into the No Easy Way Out montage, I get why Sly did the flashbacks in black and white in the director's cut, because that feels more cinematic as far as memories go. Though I understand why Kyle prefers the original cut version with it being in full color. Looking forward to what's in store next, Michael.
Thank you, Michael. Well said, as always. And yeah, not much more to add. We talked a lot about that breakdown scene. One of the comments we actually got on YouTube was they were saying that we did a great job, but we're maybe too critical. It's like, we might have dissected it too much, maybe. I don't think we were too critical, but you don't have to agree with their opinions. That's fine. That's fair. But that's what we're here to do, folks, is to break this down scene by scene and moment by moment. So we're going to do that now. We're going to do the original cut first. So we're not going to do the montage. We talked about it last episode. We know the whole montage is flashback scenes. It's just the previous films, another montage of the previous films events, which we talked ad nauseum throughout our podcast. And of course, it was black and white was the director's cut. That's the only difference. If I remember correctly, there was nothing new added to the flashback. It was just black and white. Okay, so we're going to go to the original cut.
I love that suitcase so much.
Yeah.
That's Polly's luggage, I guess, the plaid.
Yes, I love it.
Yeah, it is very nice. You know what? This is funny. I agree. I would love to have that today, that set today. That'd be so cool. Yeah. The reason why they're showing that then, though, in 1985, it's supposed to be comical that luggage exists for Polly. It's not supposed to be cool.
Right.
It's iscomical that Polly has plaid
old suitcase
luggage, but funny now in 2024 we all kind of agree that'd be cool to have that luggage. Isn't that weird how styles change? And
it is, but I will say I'm impressed that he has the full set still, like someone like Polly, to not just have like a random piece here and a random piece here, but he has the whole set.
Yeah, he probably got it as a Christmas gift probably at some year from the Rockies.
I'm assuming at least one of those suitcases is completely full of those porn comics that he looks at.
Keeps his fertility.
Yeah,
man.
They don't have him in Russia. He's like, I hope I got my comics there.
Well, yeah, he talks about it. I hope they have my comics. Maybe he lost luggage for the plane ride. He could have lost. So the robot says here, be careful with those plaid ones. They belong to the boss.
Careful with those plaid ones. They belong to the boss. Polly, did you pack your toothbrush? You know how tobacco stains your teeth. If I've told you once, I've told you 1,000 times.
Hey, stop busting my chops.
Polly.
I'm going to have a wires tied when I get back.
I love how the robot, the sentient robot, felt hurt. You know, I'm going to bust your chops because it does that weird motion like, oh,
Yeah.
I love how this robot truly understands tone and voice in 1985. This is a highly intelligent robot that Rocky owns.
Is it, or is Polly so highly intelligent he did such an awesome job reprogramming it? Because it was very robotic and cold when Polly first got it, but now that Polly's been exposed to it,
yes,
he has reprogrammed it to be his perfect partner. It kind of reminds me of like my dad who sucks at technology, but then it's like when there's a technology that he really wants to use, he suddenly becomes good at technology.
Yep. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's true. Funny. And of course, you know, she's the robot. The robot is
yeah.
I guess the robot is of course nagging Polly. The idea, of course, is like a wife nagging the husband. And Polly says, I'm gonna have her wires tied. That's what women do to not have babies. That's the medical term we'll say.
The tubal ligation.
Tubes tied. So he says, I'm gonna get her wires tied. Like, put it this way, if the surgery to have your tubes tied didn't exist, would the line have still been, I'm gonna get her wires tied when I get back?
No.
It absolutely references that.
Yeah, it's supposed to be a funny.
But I'm just trying to understand, is she able to reproduce?
Like with male dogs, the idea is they'll calm down when they're neutered, like the aggressiveness.
Right.
The same is not true of females. So I don't really understand it anyway.
He's conflating human biology with the wrong gender of dog surgery with the robot.
That tracks for Polly, though.
Yeah, that's true.
Hey, I'll say this now, folks. No other podcast has been this thorough with that line than we have today.
No.
And I love how this driver dude or whatever, I don't know if he's the driver. He's like, I can't believe this. What? He's like, white people.
These rich white people, like, what kind of bullshit lives do they live? And he's not wrong.
Yeah, it's true.
When will you be back?
The scene always bugs me. You know why the scene bugs me? We talked about the first one more round when we covered this scene.
The bikes in his room?
Why is the bike? He has a bicycle in his room. I'm sure, Kyle, you're gonna have an explanation why a kid has a bike in their room. I was a kid. I biked the crap out of my BMX bike. I had them all the time growing up. Never would I've imagined dragging my bike into my room. My parents would have killed me. Get that dirty bike out. What is your? It would never have existed in my room. But go ahead. Why?
We'll come up with an apologist explanation. But I'm going to say this first. I'm going to say this first. You're right. He's not going to have a bike in his room. But if I had to come up with something, it's probably safe to say that Rocky Jr. grew up in a slightly larger house than you did, and also had access to more resources. So I could see this little shit having an outside bike and an inside bike that he could ride around his house.
The mansion, yes. I was thinking the same thing, Kyle. Also, it's like rich. It's like in the 80s, like when you show a kid's room. I think it's showing that. Just like
it's
rich
showing
kid.
how rich I am.
Yeah.
It's a show bike. It doesn't even use it. It's just there because he likes the look of it.
Then you'd have to assume he's on the top floor, so the bike just gets right around the hallway. It's ridiculous. Don't start with that stuff. Indoor bike. Come on. I do like the creative thinking. Don't get me wrong. I would not have come up with that indoor bike theory. Okay. But yeah, it's to showcase he's a rich kid with all his toys and all his belongings. Yeah. He's got so much of his crowd in his room.
Enjoy it while it lasts, buddy. Because you're going to South Philly in not too long a time.
Now, I think this kid playing this kid, his name is Rocky in real life. I'm 90% sure this kid.
Yeah, I think you're right. Like Krakow or something.
Yeah, it's weird. His name is Rocky. So I would assume, too, that the parents probably named him after the film that came out in 76.
Maybe that's how he got the role. He's like, look, I love you. I love you. Can I play your kid?
Sure.
Are you scared?
No.
Yes, you are. A little, maybe.
Oh, wouldn't you be?
If a big giant man wanted to beat me up, I'd be real scared.
I'm trying to think of how this would go if I was talking to one of my kids. I think if I was talking to my daughter, especially, she'd probably be telling me, like, don't go. Don't go to Russia. Because, like, for a few reasons. One, it's like you don't want your dad to, like, disappear for a long time, especially over Christmas.
Sure.
And two, like, this kid would know that Apollo got killed in the ring. Like, he'd probably be worried that his dad is, I don't know. I feel like my daughter would think that, but I could also see other kids being like, my dad could do anything. And if like anyone could beat up this guy, it's my dad. So I think my daughter would be like, no, my dad's going to get f***ed up for sure.
That's true, but I think they're probably sheltering him from the realistic nature of what could happen.
don't forget the same child has already seen Rocky get destroyed by Hulk Hogan in the ring, just a couple of years previous. So he's kind of used to giant men wanting
Is
to beat
Daddy
this guy.
having fun?
Yeah, of course.
Well, the truth is, sometimes I do get a little scared, When I'm in that ring and I'm really getting hit on, and my arms hurt so much I can't even lift them. And I'm thinking, God, I wish this guy would hit me on the chin so I don't feel nothing anymore.
Now,
is that a real thing?
He means is get put to sleep.
Well,
No, I always just wondered, is that like a physiological thing? If you get hit a certain way, it doesn't hurt anymore? Or
this glass jaw, isn't that what the old saying? Glass jaw, somebody gets hit on the chin, they get knocked out. I've seen.
Yeah, that's how you knock people out. Is you hit
Yeah.
them on the chin, like on the jaw, because it's like it disconnects and it like turns the lights off. Like if you want to put someone to sleep, you hit them on the jaw, and some people physiologically could take it more than others. And that's like people who can't take it. People are prone to get knocked out by getting hit in the chin like that, or they say they have a glass jaw. Or like Mickey was like saying like, you had this cast iron jaw. But he could also mean for him, because he doesn't get put to sleep. For him personally, it could mean that he just feels like he numbs out if he gets hit in the jaw.
We as Rocky fans, now of course, there's going to be listeners who say, I've always felt this way. Many of us actually will glide over this dialogue that Rocky, because Rocky 4 is not known for, this speech is never quoted. The speech is, Rocky 6 has the rainbow speech, and every other, the first Rocky has, I don't think I could beat him, go the distance. Every one of these has, this is Rocky 4, this is the speech. This is that moment. That's why I actually use the beginning of every episode is this moment, one more round. One, because that's the name of our podcast, and this is when Rocky says that. But this is actually if you actually listen to everything the character's saying here, Rocky character, it's actually a really cool insight to Rocky's thought process about when he's in the ring. He's saying here, he gets so freaking tired and beaten up. He himself, even though he keeps moving forward, I'll keep moving forward. He's doing that, but he's saying it's so difficult and tough. He wishes Apollo would just knock him out cold, because then it would be over. Then it's like, oh, well, I guess I lost the fight, but then he's not suffering anymore. So he's just saying in general, when he's in the ring, he is a little bit scared, absolutely. And his arms are, they don't work for you no more. And he just wishes that he would get knocked out, because it would just end it. And it's like, no harm, no foul. Well, I lost the fight. Boxers lose fights all the time. And it would just be over.
If you can go that one more round.
Go that one more round.
When you don't think you can, like pushing yourself.
That's right. So I just love how
it's a really good lesson. It's probably something that he applies in his life today,
Right. And of course, this is a foreshadow of his thought process when he faces Drago shortly. This is actually a very nice, heartfelt speech by Rocky to his son here.
It's a soft side of him. Plus, I got to point out, that's an awesome sweater. He is always on top of his sweater game, this one.
Agreed. Yeah.
We're going to put this in the dad win column for Rocky.
Yes.
He doesn't have a ton of these, but he does have some.
We're so hard on Rocky as a father. I think he's a fine father. I have seen no evidence where he's a bad father.
He's leaving him for Christmas, then he could.
Oh, then I'm a bad father. I was away at Qatar for Christmas for my job.
Yeah,
but that was your job.
You're doing something that needs to be done over there. He's not.
Sure, you're right. In this moment, yes, this Christmas, he didn't have to go. I agree. But that's one misstep. He's a pretty darn good parent. I mean, there's a lot of bad parents out there.
I'll say this about Rocky. He's not the worst father to his son as a child. Rocky 3, you see him hanging out with his kid in like the golf cart and stuff. So you have this moment. So up until this point, I wouldn't have said Rocky's like the worst father. It's Rocky 5 and then Rocky Balboa, like the beginning part. You see his strained relationship with his son.
That was from the son, though. The son caused that, man.
I don't know.
He was a dick.
I don't know.
I'm sorry. Rocky Jr. was a dick in part 6. He was a dick. He's like really hard.
But he's like a teenager. I mean,
I'm sorry, but Rocky and Rocky 5 was the worst dad. He doesn't talk to his son when his son moves to Vancouver.
He's never met the grandkid.
He's never even met his grandson until his grandson.
Slow down. It's the old what came first, the chicken or the egg. You're right. Those events did happen, but those two are both stubborn. You could say that Robert wasn't a great son. I think there was a part. I think that's part of the problem but Rocky, he's so tender and soft, and he hates confrontation that I think it got to the point where he didn't call Robert because he didn't want to bother Robert. It wasn't about him not wanting to be a part of the grandson's life, because he ended up he showed up, of course, a great scene. The end of Creed 2 is one of the best scenes in the Rocky series, quite frankly, is that reunite. You look like your grandma.
Yeah, it was awesome scene.
Yeah, I love it. Now, but that all being said, you're right. It got to that point, but I wonder, had one of them just said, hey, let bygones be bygones, who knows? But Robert left for Vancouver because he still wanted to get out of his dad's shadow and start his life new. And I think that was insinuated or said. So it wasn't like Rocky kicked him out to Vancouver. I think Rocky would have been happy to have Robert around.
We say Rocky is like a bad dad. It's all relative, right? Real bad dad would be like an abusive father. Rocky's nowhere, not in that realm whatsoever. So if we're looking at it from a wide lens, Rocky's not a bad father. He's a suboptimal dad, especially to his adult son. I think it's because he doesn't know how to deal with his emotions. And neither does his son.
Agreed. The apple doesn't fall far. They make up in Rocky Balboa. So it bothers me that in the Creed films,
the grandson thing does not track. Anyone who has kids knows parents love grandkids. Like, not all grandparents are like that, but most are. They love grandkids. Grandkids are like the dividends of parenthood, because you get all the awesome kid experience without all the bullshit of raising the kid. It's really the best of both worlds. The idea that Rocky, his grandson wouldn't even know he exists, is asinine, unless it's a situation where Rocky Jr. and his dad have no relationship whatsoever. Which, like you said, Katie, after Rocky Balboa, it seems weird.
I think what happened there was, and it can happen to people, it's just separation. You got somebody who doesn't call. Some people aren't callers. Some people just don't call. Some people are just like that. I don't think Rocky or Robert, they're weirdly just, Robert has his own family, young family. He's got a job. He's got a young kid. Rocky's doing his Creed stuff. He's training Adonis. I think it's just a combination of, it gets to the point where you haven't done something for so long that now it's awkward.
Yeah.
It's like, who's the first one to make the call? It's not like, I hate my grandkid, I never want to talk to that little shite. It's not that. It's just, it becomes to the point where he's so awkward about it. And I was like, oh my gosh, I haven't talked to my son in 2 years or 3 years or whatever, since the kid was born. I probably called him to say congratulations. But when you prolong something, now it becomes awkward. And then who's the first one to admit, this is kind of awkward? We haven't talked in 3 years. So who's going to be the one? And then Robert can be like, why, Mike, he doesn't call me. We actually had friends, Becky and I, 10 years ago. 12 years ago. This guy doesn't listen to the podcast. I won't say his name, but they were like husband and wife, and we're husband and wife. And they were new friends too. And we're just becoming friends. But this guy got mad at me that I didn't call him more, or I didn't do whatever it was. Like he inserted his idea of what the relationship should be on me, but he never called me. So whatever it was, like you never call, you never, So it's like, but you're not calling me. And I'm sure we've all had an experience where it's like, why are you mad that I don't call you? My phone too is not ringing. It's not like you're calling me every week and then I never return a call. We're both not talking to each other. Well, you've put the onus on me that we're not communicating. Why? I think that's what's going to happen to Rocky and Robert. It's like someone is putting the onus on the other person, so they're both not calling.
Guys, especially, are not very good with this. That's one thing women do way better in their friendships, in relationships, is keep in touch with each other and keep in contact. Like, I have guy friends I can not talk to for like a year or two, and then like talk to them and it's fine later. That's not like the way you should do it, though. Like, you should keep in touch. You should talk more.
So it makes it easy. But,
and that's why, like, when guys get divorced, they're the ones who are more likely to go downhill, because like they do not have a friend network, a strong friend network outside their wife. And so when the wife goes, it's like your life falls apart. So
like the wife is the social planner of the couple.
Yeah. Typically. So men, prepare yourselves. I'm not saying you should prepare for divorce, but you should get your shit together.
It's 50-50 chance.
I went through divorce. I love that. It's got to be with a lot of different girls. Okay. All right. So I got out of my system.
Hey, P.S. though, Ryan. Yes. You say you don't have any friends. What are Kyle and I over here? Minced meat, or right. what do they call it?
That's why I do. That's why I do the podcast. It forces us to talk every 2 weeks.
Actually, yeah. Like to get personal here, I actually really do look forward to like talking to you guys, and even like Donald and Louise and everyone else who emails the show. Like, I look forward to seeing their comments, and it's like I really like this is a social thing for me, and it's really, especially like when you have young kids and stuff, and you're super busy. Just hopping in for a podcast is like really convenient and awesome.
Yeah, look at that. Look at the love. Look at the love. All right,
stop talking about this domestic stuff and get back to the film.
Well, let them
asses.
Yeah. Get your chicken asses out of here.
All right, let's see what Rocky says here. This is a great little moment. Here we go.
Then there's another side that comes out that isn't so scared. It's another side that like wants to take more, and wants to go that one more round, because like going that one more round when you don't think you can, that's what makes all the difference in your life. You know what I mean?
And now everyone who listens to my podcast, they're all hearing the music. They're all hearing that music part kicking.
Yep.
Okay, so side story here. Yep. I was in the lunchroom at work. I kind of told you guys this over Messenger already, but
yeah,
I told someone I was like a co-host in a Rocky themed podcast, and she was shocked by that because I never talk about Rocky at work, and I guess they don't think I'd be the kind of guy. They didn't believe me. When they looked up the podcast, she like played the first part of it. And I don't remember which episode it was, but this quote came up. I never listened to the podcasts ever. Right? Like I never listened to them.
You didn't know that was the opening music too.
Yeah, and I was like, why is Ryan playing this quote? Like we haven't got here yet in the episode.
You don't have to listen to it. You're on it. You don't have to listen.
Exactly. I know what happened.
I listen to it to always just make sure I got the right edit out, that it sounds good. I have to, just because there have been in my years of podcasting. Oh, wrong one. It's happened a couple times where I'll post because it depends where the file is on my computer. I'll upload the unedited file. I'm like, why does this sound so weird? Why do I hear a lot of or whatever? Like, no! And I get so mad at myself. I quickly pull it off the feed, put up the new one, but people have already downloaded the crappy one. I'm like, oh, no, they'll never listen to me again. Anyone that creates podcasts will know what I'm talking about. It's very heartbreaking when you think you've.
I hate the sound of my voice.
Well, we do too, Kyle, but we're doing it anyways.
Yes, I don't blame you guys. But the voice I hear of myself is much nicer than the voice you guys hear. So
no, you sound just great. Yeah, we need you. We need you. So now, cue the music. Podcast is starting. So he goes, you know what I mean? I think the kid does like a weird nod, like, yeah, Dad. I think I got you. There you go. Yeah, there it is.
We remember one more thing.
Oh,
we remember that Daddy thinks you're the best boy in the world.
Wow, what a horrible dad he is. Look at that love he's showing. Oh, stop, you terrible father.
Being a good dad is a process, not a moment.
Stop. They love each other.
It's really cute. It's really sweet.
You need to take care of everything.
Feed your robot.
Okay.
Don't forget to feed your robot.
Oh, so we know that part's not in the director's cut, which we are going to show. We're going to show you.
It's Paulie's robot, I believe. Does
yeah.
he also have a robot?
You're right. It's funny how he says you're a robot. He should have said the robot, but yeah, fair enough.
I do.
Good luck.
Thanks.
Come on, the meat is running.
No, that's a great little moment there. Remember that line? Because right now, when Paul yells at, right now during the universe of this moment, Rocky and Adrian, Kyle, are having a conversation. So, it's just weird how this is. It's just funny how right now. So we're seeing this scene. We're going to go to the director's cut. In the director's cut, we're going to hear him yell that. So we know that when he yells at, "Come on, the meter's running," up in the house on the top floor, Rocky and Adrian are actually having a discussion during that time. But the way it's edited right now, Rocky's right there.
This is a weird nitpicky thing of mine, but I don't think that car would have a meter like.
Oh my God, I'm so glad. I was going to say the same thing. I'm like, I never understood that.
That's the joke. He's just joking. He's just saying we're running late. Time is money. Oh no, guys, that was not literal. No one thinks that's literal. That's just Paulie.
I
thought it was literal.
I did too.
That's hilarious. That's funny. I think for once, maybe I'm not the idiot this
You're
time.
right. You're right, Ryan.
Okay,
it is just a joke, I think.
It is just a joke. It's him being silly, saying time's a wasting. We got to get going. The meter's running. It's indicate that, we're sitting here, we're not moving, and this ride is supposed to take us to the airport. But no, that's their driver. It's already paid for. He's just saying time's a wasting.
That's why I always thought it was funny. I'm like, there's no meter. I don't get it. It's just a figure of speech.
It's a figure of speech. I think it's
listeners, I want to hear
sure.
what you think. Did you think it was a joke, or did you actually take it literally? I'm curious.
That's just funny. Again, wow. It's not very
No,
often.
you're right. That is what it is, Ryan.
Yeah, I agree.
It's just that growing up, I always thought it was weird. I'm like, I don't get it. Why is he saying the meter's
it's a
running?
polyism. He's just saying like we got to get going. The meter's running, but the irony is it's already paid for. It's free, so the meter's running. That's just poly being silly. So I love Rocky's got the jacket over his shoulder. He got the sweater, the necklace.
It's a great jacket too.
So now we see him there. He's got the cufflink that, of course, Mickey gave him. So, anyways, Rocky's now going to look up the window at Adrian. So when you first see this film, we're kind of assuming, and of course, we think they talk to each other. But I think how I viewed it as a viewer over these years is we're seeing that Adrian is so upset about Rocky leaving that they can't even say goodbye to each other. That's how I've always viewed this. It's kind of
you've had a fight and it's unresolved, and it's like everyone's quiet around each other. You don't do a lot of the same pleasantries you normally would do. You may leave the house without saying goodbye, or a different kind of goodbye, maybe, or it's like that weird. I call it the Cold War. Right. Not that my wife and I ever fight, but if we did, that's what I would call it.
Yeah, I think you're right. It could either be they haven't, because I assume that, I don't know, however much time has passed, a few days at least, and they probably
in the house.
Yeah, it's been tense, but so they maybe have said goodbye, but this is their last, like, hey, I'm going to be gone. This is our acknowledgement. I'm going to be gone for a few months, and there's still something off with us.
I agree, but I equate this to the same moment when Rocky left with Mickey to train in part 2, and Adrian walks up the stairs angry. Mm-hmm. This is the same emotion I was led to believe she's feeling in the window. But what I'm getting at, and Kyle, you'll see this, with the director's cut, we get a whole different dynamic. So this is a sad goodbye still, but it's not an angry one. Mm-hmm. I was always led to believe there's a little bit of a tinge of like,
yeah,
but it's not the case. But here it is, of course, the original cut look. Because he's looking, almost pleading at her, like, I'm sorry, Adrian, kind of looking. She's looking at the window, kind of like, and then she just kind of he looks like, oh, please understand. And she's like, I can't understand, Rocky. I'm sorry. And that look on his face is like, she's just not happy. She's not going to smile. She's not going to wave. There's no like this or, nothing. She's just like.
That was really good nonverbal acting on his part. His facial expressions.
The same thing. That's how his face would look in that situation.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I was led to believe that it's not that great of a term. So let's go check out the director's cut. And I think the scene with the son and Rocky is a little bit different too. So we're going to show that. So of course, after the car goes down the tunnel, there's no luggage scene. So that right there is cut out.
Okay.
All right. So the first scene here actually is quite different. We have the scene of the backyard of the Stallone home. Sorry, of Rocky's home here.
There's the bike. There's the bike. That's where the bike is, you guys.
No, that's the outdoor bike, according to Kyle. That's the outdoor bike.
Yeah, it's so funny because it looks like the same bike too.
It almost does look like the same bike. But again, the idea here, the bike's on the lawn, kind of haphazardly thrown on the lawn. There's a football next to it. Sure, this kid is just, no matter where he goes, he's playing football, he's riding bikes. He's got a great life.
It is an outside and indoor bike, apparently.
It is.
Because it's the same.
Kyle's theory's correct. He's got an indoor bike. He's got an outdoor bike. Oh, man.
It's kind of like at work, I have indoor shoes. I only wear my shoes in the office, and I have my outdoor shoes I come to the office and leave the office with.
Sure.
Really?
Yeah. Like it helps keep your dress shoes nice. Especially in the winter. You don't want to get snow and all that shit on there. So he does the same with his bike.
Yes, you are. A little, maybe.
Well, to tell you the truth, sometimes I get a little scared. When I'm in that ring and I'm getting hit on, my arms hurt so much I can't even lift them up anymore, and I'm hoping that the other guy hits me right in the chin, so I don't feel nothing anymore. There's this other side that isn't so scared, There's a side that wants to take more, that wants to go one more round. Because going that one more round is what really makes the difference in your life.
Did you notice what they took out? Did you guys catch what they took out?
Wouldn't you be?
They cut out the whole, if the giant man wanted to beat me up, I'd be scared. They took that out.
Anything silly. I take out. Anything that's silly,
Yeah.
he takes out.
Good call, Katie. Yeah, anything remotely. How dare you have a light moment? I feel like Slot. Yeah, he wanted to make some sort of Dark Knight version of his
Dark
Rocky
Knight
character.
version. Yeah, yeah.
You're right. Nothing silly can exist in this film.
Mm-mm.
Good call. Here's a news line here.
Time when you're gonna have to do things that other people don't think are right, but you know they're gonna be right for you. And I don't care if everybody thinks they're wrong. You gotta do what you gotta do. You understand? You gotta do it for you.
I think what Rocky's saying here, right now, your mother and I aren't on the same page regarding this issue, but I'm doing this for me. But that's what he's saying. He's saying, hey, people right now, the world, the press, Polly, your mom, a lot of people don't believe in me right now. They don't believe in what I'm doing, but sometimes you just got to do what it's for you. You can't do it for, and that actually is a good way to live. Obviously, if it's not hurting other people, but the point is, do something it's right for you to do.
It's weird. I never considered this until now, and maybe it's because I actually haven't seen the scene until now. But there's echoes of this film, multiple ones in Rocky Balboa. So the first one is this one more, the early part of this speech, how he says, like, if you can go the one more round and still keep going forward. That's an echo of Rocky's speech to his son about how it's not how hard you hit, it's how hard you could get hit and keep moving forward. There's like a clear parallel there. Mm-hmm. And then here, this scene reminds me of was when he's in the van with Marie, and she's like, it's not about how this looks to other people, it's how this looks to you. To me, it's really the same thing as what he's saying here, saying like, you got to do things not based on what other people are thinking or what other people are saying, but how you feel about it, what's right to you. Like if you actually believe something is truly right, then you have to go for it, even if other people don't agree with you.
The Rocky ethos is pretty consistent.
Although I do think he's wrong, though.
However,
in this particular case, I think what he's doing is selfish. I think it goes into the realm of selfishness because he is going into a situation where there's a very, very real chance that he's not coming back. Mm-hmm. And he's going to leave his son without a father. And so for me, and this is the part where I'm like, as a dad, I'm going to look at that and be like, I'm not going to jeopardize what I have with my son and risk that because I want to like avenge this Apollo guy who I might feel bad about not dropping the towel or whatever. But if I have to choose between the two,
or dropping the
what's that?
Nothing. Sorry. Go on. I made a stupid joke about dropping the soap. I apologize. Okay. I'm immature. I apologize. Continue.
If I have to choose between the two, I'm choosing him. Like I think what he's. I think this is in reality awful what he's doing. Like I think it's a very bad idea to go to Russia and do this fight, but
it's fine.
That's just my mindset.
You're right. Mm-hmm. If they didn't go to Russia, they would have lost the money, and he wouldn't be a full R word in part 5.
Yeah, man.
A whole different universe.
At least he's still alive for his son. Like, could you imagine if he got killed in the ring, or not even killed in the ring, but he got hit so hard that he was like a vegetable or something? Like he's basically not in his son's life anymore. Imagine the resentment his son would have towards him for like the rest of his life. Mm-hmm. So, like, your boxing always came first and not our family.
I just think about how he's the full R word, man, in part 5 when he's talking to his son. I like see through your eyes, you know. The way he talks to his son on the, do I look like a raccoon? Like Rocky Raccoon? I like see through your eyes. Like, holy smokes, Sly. That whole scene is horrible. We'll get to
it. It is bad. But in this scenario here, now Adrian's alive instead of Rocky for the subsequent films. Adrian's is called Rocky, and maybe Adrian takes up boxing or starts training some kids.
There's an argument to be made that this series should have and maybe could have or should have, or however you want to word it, with Rocky 4. Mm-hmm. Because Rocky 5 is a very divisive film. It exists. So we know these things exist, but I'm just saying 5 is a very divisive film. for many reasons. And then 6 has its issues too. And 6 only exists to correct the mistakes of, as far as Sly was concerned, for part 5. And then the whole Creed films and making the Apollo cheating on his wife.
Well, that would
Marianne.
still work. The Creed films would work off of Rocky 4.
You could almost go right to Creed 2 from Rocky 4.
Oh, well,
really.
Definitely. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So
you have to have Rocky in the old neighborhood. This is what I don't like about Rocky 3 and 4. Rocky does not belong in this mansion.
But he made money, though. Where would he go with the money?
The character is a character. This is not his natural habitat. This is not who he is. Of course, he's going to live in a mansion because he has millions of dollars. I'm not saying he should have lived in the old neighborhood the whole time. But what I love about 5 is it puts him back where he belongs.
If you didn't have 5 and 6, you could still have Creed where he's back in the neighborhood because 40 years later, that's where he chose to go.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's weird though. Like it's a very awkward transition.
Let's just say every one of these sequels has issues other than part 1 and 2. I think.
I'll go back to my argument. I think on a purely artistic basis, it should have stopped at Rocky 1.
No, I think 2 is a better film in many ways. I honestly think 2 is a good film. It has grown on me so much over the years. When you watch 2, it has such a payoff at the end because of 1. You can't have 2 without 1. But I think if you watch Rocky 1 and 2 as a back-to-back, as a 4-hour, you can almost watch it as a 4-hour film. It works. The timeline works.
Yeah,
the kids work. The baby works. The victory works. We still see him in the old neighborhood. We can just imagine where he goes after. It's a perfect story.
I agree. That's what I want. That's one movie. They're the same movie. But Kyle does have a point. Rocky, as a standalone, still is phenomenal, and it's a non-Hollywood ending, and that's kind of why we like it.
Yeah, like for me, this is like, I know you'll disagree, and I think most of the listeners will also disagree with this, is that to me, the point of the first one was that he fought to prove to himself that he wasn't just another bum from the neighborhood.
Correct.
He was given this chance, and that's exactly what he did. Mm-hmm. So he got what he wanted in the end. His character won in the end in his own way, and I love that. And I think I'd love the mystery of like, you could speculate in your mind over the years after you watch that film. I wonder what Rocky would have done after this fight. I wonder what would have happened after this fight. It's Hollywood, so they have to exploit that to the fucking fullest. Turn this into like a 7-movie franchise. And like, look, it worked. I'm here podcasting about it.
But, well, I love all the movies, and I'm not anti-sequel. I don't have anything. I hate it when, not that you're doing this, Kyle, but I hate when people say that movies are ruined by sequels. I don't necessarily agree with that. It's like saying books are ruined by sequels. It's an overarching story arc, and that's how I view the Rocky character. They're just chapters of a book. Some chapters might be stronger than others. It's really an interesting experience and experiment to see an actor / character age over the years. It's really kind of cool to see.
Well, this is the only example of it, I think, that the same
to a degree. You got
years.
Harrison Ford almost doing it, with I'm not saying it's his beloved, but I'm saying you saw him age from from Raiders.
True. That's true.
I'm generally against sequels, but there are many good exceptions to that. There are many movies where the sequel.
And I think Rocky is a good exception. Let's be clear. I don't want to. I
like the Rocky movies. Technically, on a technical basis, I think you could have left. It would be cool. I wish I can go to a universe and just experience that where just Rocky happened. But I think like certain movies, a sequel would ruin it. I hope this hasn't happened. I have like this nagging feeling that this has actually happened, but I hope it hasn't. If Disney's like, look, we're doing Snow White 2.
They probably have, actually.
Yeah, I'm like, you better not have done that. Can't take something like that and like an old classic and just slap a 2 on it because it's just some money-making bullshit thing.
Breakfast Club. There can't be a Breakfast Club 2.
Yeah, I know. Like, what the fuck? You can't do that.
But
like,
there is a monetary incentive for both books and movies. I mean, let's be realistic. That is why they do it.
I watched way too many Star Wars films that I shouldn't have watched. I loved Star Wars as a kid. Those prequels were horrible, in my opinion. And I watched them because it's Star Wars. And watching Star Wars is what you do when a new Star Wars comes out. No more.
It's tricky. I know we
no
can go
more.
I think movies are sometimes unfairly, and maybe that's part of what makes the movies fair enough. criticize or put down because they have sequels. Like we watch TV shows that have 20 episodes a season. So I don't understand why TV shows can get away with it. Books can get away with it. Bands can have more than one album. It's not just their debut album. It's just funny how movies they're never allowed to have a sequel. It's odd that we give that. It's odd that we do that. I don't know where that rule came from. We criticize or we're harder on a movie sequel than any other medium of entertainment.
You're right. That's a really good point, Ryan. And here's what I think is because originally the medium of a motion picture was to have one story, one that starts and ends in 2 hours or whatever. Like it's supposed to the complete story in one thing. That's the original intent.
I don't know if that's true. I hear you, but again, where was that written? That's what I mean is like there is a culture behind. You're right but it changed. But now it has changed, and I guess there's been sequels since the 60s and 70s, and there's been I don't know like Buddy and Costello or Abbott Costello, Meet Frankenstein, Abbott Costello, like so. There has always been the same characters doing different things in movies, so they weren't necessarily sequels like the Charlie Chaplin character. There's always characters doing different things. They weren't necessarily part 1 and 2, but that's how I look. That's what I'm trying to say is like, we have this weird like stipulation on movies. Like, no. You cannot share that story again, or that those characters can't have more adventures. Like, okay, but if I put it on an eight episode series on HBO, that's allowed.
I think a sequel is okay, and people will accept a sequel if you really do have a story to tell and a good story to tell.
Well, that's always an argument for everything. There's some TV shows that drag on too long.
Yeah, and people are skeptical of sequels because they've been by them.
Mm-hmm.
Because so many sequels for movies that have come out that don't really have a good story to tell. They're just basically reliving or reenacting or wallowing in the first film and riding the coattails of the first film. And people have been by that so many times.
Man, you gotta stop. I gotta edit all the. Sorry, every time you curse, I always take out your curses, and sometimes they don't make sense. They get by that is what the people are going to hear.
Bleep in there.
Yeah, I just bleep.
I just make it quiet. It goes. People can figure it out. It goes. By that.
They've been okay. So I'll take 2. People have been burned by so many sequels that
I'm keeping all that in.
You're skeptical.
Yeah, sure.
And
you're right. You're right.
Shit.
But again, same with TV shows. Like I was saying, the show should have stopped after season 4. So it goes both ways. It's like people
the Simpsons. Like how dare they keep making Simpsons episodes right now?
Because they make money. That's why.
What are you doing? Like that show lost relevance a long time ago.
Yeah, you pay with your wallet. So the problem is people are still watching whatever it is. Fast and Furious. People are still showing up. Like I'm not going to those movies, but people are. And I get it's a business. So at the end of the day, if I own the company, if I own the movie company that ran the Fast and Furious, I'd be like, hey, those movies are stupid. But hey, Ryan, they're making millions. Okay, fine.
Yeah.
So I get it. It's like they're making me money. It's not hurting anybody. I don't know why people are going to these films, but if people are going to go and they're going to pay me money, they're going to make them. Okay. Well, we're going to finish this scene. This was we didn't get through very much today, but which I love. I love our discussions. I'm not in any rush to finish these films necessarily because when they're over, it's over. But this is a great discussion. I hope people enjoy our discussions because I think we're actually are talking about good, interesting things. Isn't Kyle part of a sequel? Yeah, Kyle is part of a sequel. That's a great question, Baz. I mean, Kyle was here for the Going the Distance podcast. Now he's here for the sequel. Is that what you're referring to or no?
Oh, you know what? You're probably right there because I thought something that Baz couldn't have known because I'm a younger sibling. And I'm like, I am kind of a sequel and sequels aren't as good.
Yeah.
But Baz wouldn't know that I have an older sibling. So.
Yeah, so Kyle was one of the co-hosts of the original podcast, and he's back again. And I think you're a lesser version of yourself. Everyone go back.
He's an original character in both versions.
Right. We're not really doing a sequels, which is a remake, which are a little different. But
and adding Katie to the co-host was it's like when they have that you have to add a kid to the family. It's like we got this new character. Katie's coming to add a breath of fresh air to the show.
I'm the token woman, like a token minority or something.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, we'll just finish the scene. In the next episode, we'll get to the deleted scene, or the director's cut, because it will be a lot to talk about, and I don't want to rush it again. I don't want to rush it is when Rocky and Adrian have a conversation that Kyle hasn't seen yet, but we don't want to rush that, so we'll just finish this one.
And it's like the most important thing I can tell you, because that's what it's all about.
So after all that, he's saying the most important thing I could tell you is do whatever the F you want. Don't worry about what people think. That's the most important thing Rocky can tell his kid right now.
You gotta live for yourself, because you gotta live with yourself.
There you go. That's an interesting way to put it.
You have to live for yourself because you have to live with yourself. And I think that's a good point. As much as I shit on him for being selfish and stuff, in general, that is good life advice.
It is.
You can't be living your life based on other people's expectations of you.
Well, you'll drive yourself crazy. What they say, comparison is
the thief of joy.
It's the same idea. So if you go around comparing yourself to my life, to Katie's life, to Kyle's life, I'm going to be, Kyle has this and Katie has that. Like Katie has free time that I don't have. Whatever it is. If you go around, but that's the thing. Or Katie compares her life to me, and she's like, "Well, Ryan has a wife and kids. I don't." You're gonna steal your own joy. Yeah, embrace your life because it's your life. You're living with yourself. At the end of the day, when you go to sleep, you shouldn't be thinking about my life or vice versa.
To tack on what I said before, I do agree with him that you have to live authentically. You cannot live based on the expectations of other people. Mm-hmm. But as a caveat to that is you have to consider how your actions affect other people.
Don't live in a way that hurts people. Because you can say, "Well, I'm living authentically as I punch people in the street." Well, no, that could be an authentic way to live, but you're actually hurting.
I know what
people.
I want to do a lot of the time.
Yeah, sure.
If your dad, we'll give an example that's not as extreme as this Rocky example, right? Sure. Like I'm a dad. And authentically, what I love to do is hang out with my friends and drink or do whatever, which is fine to a degree, right? But if I'm just living for stuff that I want to do, and I'm not having a relationship with my kids, I'm not necessarily hurting other people, but I'm neglecting other people, which is a form of hurt. There has to also be an element of responsibility, and you have to live up to those responsibilities. What you authentically want comes in conflict with those responsibilities. You have to make a decision, and that's where it gets a little more difficult.
Tricky balance.
Right. Yeah, of course I mean, Rocky would never, and he doesn't live that way. He always tries to please Adrian and please his family, of course. He's just saying at the end of the day, the choices you make, and I'm so learning how to do this in my old age, is like, I have to stop caring. Yeah, that's what I was going to say. What other people think of you is none of your business. So that's the other quote I like as well. So what other people think of me is none of my business. And also comparing yourself to others is a thief of joy. So just live authentically, be yourself. But yes, part of Ryan being himself is actually loving my wife and children and having a good life with them. That's actually my authentic self, is to be a good father, a good husband. And I don't do that for what other people might think of me. I do that for myself. So that's part of living for yourself. So that's where it's different. He goes, you know what I mean? So that whole sequence there of him talking about living authentically was cut out of the original cut. And the you know what I mean came out after the one more round speech. So they kept it. Now he just leaves the room. No, feed your robot. I love you. I love you, buddy. Gives him a kiss. I love you, baby. Or yeah, baby. Call him baby or something. None of that's there. None of the sweetness is there. It's all just Sly's like, well, we can't have that. He was being too sweet with his kid. Talked about the robot. So they just cut it out.
I think it was the robot. He would have kept that in had the robot bit not been in there.
I bet you Sly's like, that damn robot. No, Sly, it was your decision to take it out of the cut. But his decision to take the robot out of the cut does kind of mar these other scenes. He's got to figure out, how do I make this work?
I think I like the original better. As much as I kind of don't like the silliness is in the original for Rocky form, I feel like the scene in the original was more true to who Rocky is as a person. He is jovial. He is lighthearted, especially Rocky 2 and beyond. There are moments where Rocky's very serious, but saying like, make sure you feed your robot and stuff like that, that's Rocky. That's him.
Yeah, I agree.
That's the Rocky I know and love. And this other version there where he's serious, I think that's like a good dramatic scene in and of itself. But in the context of the whole films, I find the original more believable.
Well, here's the problem that we've talked about this with as we break it down. I know you're not saying this, Kyle, but the problem is that there's some parts of the director's cut that really works, and there's some parts that don't, and there's some parts he took out that really works, and they don't. So what his director's cut is not the ultimate cut. I think that's how we could say this. The director's cut is Sly's cut, but it's not the ultimate cut. The ultimate cut would be, there's things that he should have kept, things he should not have taken out. And I think us fans, I hate to say it, would actually have a better job piecing together a better film. I think he's just blinded by his hatred of his ex-wife and the robot. Really ruined the cut to some degree.
Agreed.
Though we're seeing these extra scenes that really do work, but he should have kept the robot, kept Brigitte's, lines, things like that. Like make it more full.
It just needs to be extended. Yeah, that whole scene you just add that extra line, those extra lines to the original.
Yeah. One thing I'm curious about, of course, this is pure speculation because I didn't see the Sly's process and can't read his mind.
Sure.
But I wonder if, like, because Sly is who he is, when he was doing this, I wonder how much input he took from other people. Like, I don't think it was a lot. And I think it because of who he is, he has the clout that he can be like, no, we're doing it this way.
Well, that's why he is on all of his films. If he doesn't work with a director that's like a James Mangold director, which is probably the last great director he's worked with, if he doesn't work with a director that will challenge or push him, everything you see on screen is Sly's call.
Yeah. Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, that was an awesome discussion. I personally enjoyed today. I love these side discussions, and but that is it. This episode is over. But actually, no. Not over. Send us an email, guys. We appreciate the emails. We love those discussion points. Give us a rating and review on your podcast feed of choice, please. We haven't got anyone in a while. Yeah. With that, this episode is over.
I didn't hear no bell.
I just want to say one